Hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all, and welcome to this panel on as we discuss the state of supplier diversity. My name is J.R. McFarling. I'm the Small Business Development Officer here at the Urban League of Broward County's Entrepreneurship Center, and I'm joined by an esteemed panel of power hitters within our community. I first want to introduce to you Miss Beatrice Louissant, who is I'm sorry here, the president and CEO of the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council. She has facilitated billions of dollars in corporate procurement sales. She's also been and continues to be a beacon of empowerment in the minority diverse landscape. And also joining us on the panel today, we have Mr. Sandy Michael McDonald. He serves as the Director of Department of Economic and Small Business Development for Broward County. Sandy has also dedicated himself to empowering local communities through economic stimulation and procurement opportunities. So thank you so much, both of you, for joining our panel. And we've got a lot to cover in a short period of time. I first want to welcome Beatrice and have you set the table for us. I know you've done a tremendous amount of work as it relates to promoting supplier diversity, and wanted to allow you to set the table with some of the recent studies and research that you've done. So can you please share some comments on that?
Well, thank you, JR. I'm so excited to be here with the audience this morning. And I want to thank the Urban League of Broward County for having the vision to actually host this event that focuses on diversity. I want to share with our audience to give you some context as we have this discussion so that you understand the assault on DEI affirmative action is a coordinated effort. Organizations that include the American Alliance for Equal Rights, America First Legal, one is run by Edward Blum, and the other is led by Stephen Miller, who worked for President Trump during the Trump administration. They're incredibly well funded, and their goal is to go to the courts to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion. The first suit that was filed was against UNC and Harvard, and unfortunately, the Supreme Court voted against DI and in education, and that then started a ripple effect. And so these well-funded organizations said, now let's look at programs that fund minority businesses. I'm not sure if your audience have heard of the Fearless Fund out of Atlanta. These are Black women that are supporting Black women with their own money. They're saying that's illegal. Target was was sued because they're celebrating Pride Week. The SBA was sued, the DBE program, because they're saying how do you show disparity? The Minority Business Development Agency that that helps minority businesses across the country, they're saying you cannot just service and provide technical assistance to minorities, but you now must open these programs to everyone, regardless of race, regardless of size, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of gender. But primarily, they're going after the Black community, whether it's education, whether it's fellowships, whether it's internships, loans, supplier diversity. 13 Republican attorneys general wrote letters to the Fortune 500 saying, this is illegal what you're doing. And that's not what the Supreme Court said in its ruling. And I want to share with you why they're suing. There are unprecedented opportunities. The Biden administration has made diversity, equity, and inclusion a cornerstone of the administration. 1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, $300 billion Inflation Reduction Act, $280 billion Chips and Science Act, $750 million for the Safe Communities Act. These people, they don't want some of the pie. They're already getting about 99% of
Right.
it. They want the entire pie. And that is why I'm so excited to have this discussion. I just want to say one last thing. If we were able to close the the racial and economic gap in this community, this is the case for why these programs are so important. It would be a gain to the United States of America of $8 trillion. Imagine having more opportunity, more money that Hispanic, Asian, African American can spend. This is about money, power, and respect. We're going to have that discussion. Thank you for the opportunity to just lay that foundation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that sounded like a song you were referencing there. I don't know. I would love to ask both of you if you can comment, Sandy, starting with you, if you can highlight for us any recent initiatives, programs that have significantly increased the participation of small and minority-owned businesses in the supplier diversity space.
Thank you, JR, and to my colleague, to Beatrice. Thank you for setting the table, because every response that I know I'll give today, and certainly that'll be echoed by Beatrice, is relevant to the question, JR, you just asked. And to be specific, even with the challenges as Beatrice just laid out, today still happens to be the day that if you're not DBE and eligible, get certified. If you're not ABCDE eligible, get certified. The new rule findings that just came out just explained more opportunities for individuals like me. I'm one of 11 in the state of Florida as the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Liaison Officer who has to assure that the DBE and the ACDBE program does what's in writing. And until that's changed, until some court changes it, we need to take advantage. So even the interstate reciprocity is now moving to 10 days. Previously, for my last 17 years, I had 30 days if somebody in Georgia wanted to come to Florida, specifically Broward County, to look at their DBE in Georgia and make them DBE in the state of Florida. I'm now going to have to do it in 10 days. Another quick move to assure that those who can afford the opportunity not only do it in one state, because the federal program allows you to do it in multiple states. The ideal of the increase in the personal net worth, affording more of an opportunity even for the businesses as they grow to still stay in the game even longer. Since 2 years ago, we increased what was the gross revenues to make it even larger. So I'm going to be speaking or responding to questions today, primarily driven off of the government side, simply because there's so many tools and programs, even those being challenged, that today are still available. And I need to make sure that the audience understands that. So my specific short answer after that long commentary is leveraging your federal program has been some of the most recent initiatives to improve the minority participation in federal contracting, in county contracting, because I do take some of the federal money. So I'm saying pay attention to the DBE program, pay attention to the ACDBE program. There's new rules less than 30 days old that's going to help it even more than what's been happening the last 10 years.
I wanted to add to that, JR. This is a good time to be in business. As Sandy said, we have a window. If we have entrepreneurs out there, they need to decide who is their customer and what certification they need. Don't chase the certification, chase the opportunity. Understand there are people that are trying to undermine the gains we've made and want to take us backward. And we're saying, respect our power, our buying power. In 2020, the African American community had $1.6 trillion of buying power. The Hispanic community had over 2.9 trillion. By the year, in 2026, by 2026, it'll be $2.7 trillion. So if I'm Amazon, if I'm Disney, if I'm IBM, if I'm Walmart, why wouldn't I want that market share? What we're saying is respect our dollars. If we're buying your burgers, your groceries, if we're banking with you, understand we can take our business somewhere else. And we want the relationship to be reciprocal. If I eat your burgers, allow me to provide the buns and the lettuce, cut your grass, provide your auditing services, allow me to provide your cybersecurity services. And what we need to understand is we need to change the narrative. This is not about anyone giving us anything. I don't know any minority business that didn't compete to win something. And there are so many examples, if you've asked, of where it's working. In my organization, we have something called the $1 Billion Roundtable. Those are major corporations that spend more than $1 billion with minority businesses, not just in the US, but globally, because we can do business globally. Those companies include IBM, Chase, Amazon, Duke Energy. They're on our board. They just made that $1 billion roundtable. So despite the challenges to DEI, someone like Jamie Dimon has said, we are in the business of supporting communities to grow. This is good for our business. And those CEOs who say they're not in support of DEI, we need to take our money and take it elsewhere. Money, power, and respect. We're not asking for anything. And let's talk about Sandy. If Sandy doesn't allow, with his major infrastructure projects, transportation projects, allow small businesses, diverse businesses who are in this community to have an opportunity, we call that taxation, not without representation, but taxation without an opportunity to then allow me to play a role to then help build Broward County, to build this state. And that is wrong.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And Sandy, you touched on earlier, you talked about from a government perspective, and Beatrice, I think you were touching on it from a private perspective. Is there anything you would add, Sandy, to the comments that we're hearing, just to kind of differentiate? And obviously we're all pulling in the same direction here, and we've got, we're all rowing the same direction in terms of impacting this. Is there anything you would add to that?
I definitely would, and I don't want to bore the audience today, but I apologize. There'll be a whole bunch of echoes, and I agree. See, everything Beatrice just laid out is real. So one of the things that I would want to make sure that the audience knows, and Beatrice gave a good example. Yep, even before bipartisan infrastructure, we did our own surtax. We're collecting a penny for 30 years. We generate $355 million a year, every year for 30 years. That's $16.7 billion. I can only do transportation operation, transportation services, infrastructure in the county, including the 31 cities and the future of rail. But to her point, my commission and the oversight board, even with these taxing dollars, decided, hey, Sandy, we got to carve something out for small business. You have a small business program where at least 25% must be used. Well, for 30 years, we're going to do this program where at least 30% would be used. And we included through the state and the federal government, let's make sure specifically we can have some diversity. People say, what do you mean? Are you really going to separate? Yes, we are. Since so much of the bipartisan infrastructure is coming through the federal government and DOT, that means minority and women-based businesses. So we said the same for this surtax. For every dollar that we use, that we leverage with the Department of Transportation, is carved out for minority and women businesses. So I need to grow more of those. More of those need to understand the different things we're doing. Yes, I still have my local race and gender neutral, where minorities and women are still included. Don't get me wrong. Yes, they are. But folks, for 25 more years on this 30 years, we are padding and stacking the debt based on activities and funds we have that we will leverage with the feds that has DBE by name. So I get to do both. So to Beatrice's point, I've already told the county, I'm not Moses, so I don't know how long God will let me live, but I doubt if I got 35 or 40 more years as old as I currently am. But if the county doesn't over 30 years make some millionaire and multi-millionaire minority small businesses, it's unacceptable. When we know we're going to spend with our control $16.7 to $22 billion in Broward County. So I'm spot on with Beatrice. It's unacceptable that we don't make sure businesses are educated, they're informed, they're given real career paths and opportunities to start businesses, and then they're taught. They're not abandoned. They're taught how to compete. They learn the real definitions of shelters. They learn the real definitions of set-asides, and they recognize, as I say across the board, If the first time you hear about a bid is in the bid portal, you're already late. So we're serious about making sure it happens.
Okay. And my comment now or question now is around off the beaten path. So, the untapped markets, and or sectors that exist both on the governmental and on the private sector. If maybe you guys can both touch on a couple of those areas that are untapped and where individuals might look towards, this is where the puck is going. If I can use a hockey analogy, and this is some great areas that you might want to consider or might want to look at or focus on, because it is untapped and because it's less saturated.
I mean, the fact that the Urban League is focused on entrepreneurship, you have an entrepreneurship building program. If you are an individual with an entrepreneur in your family, your net worth is 5 times greater than your peers. And if you're Black, it's 12 times greater. I want a couple more millionaires in my community, in my family, and that's what they're afraid of. Understand that entrepreneurship is the quickest way to wealth. If I want to leave a legacy, if I want to build generational wealth, I don't go work for someone. I go work for myself. I create jobs. I pay insurance. I create opportunities for people that look like me. As I said, it's an incredible time to be in business. Between infrastructure, international trade, we're the gateway to Latin America, the Caribbean, we're the gateway to the world in South Florida. And companies that do business internationally as well as domestically tend to be more profitable. Our businesses don't know about all of the programs and all of the services that are available to ensure that they are successful when they go to China and they can't speak the language. Literally, our government will provide a driver, set up meetings, and make certain that language is not an issue, right? Again, many of our firms, and I'm specifically talking about Black firms, they're in the lifestyle businesses. They need to follow the money and the opportunity. If you're not in a growth sector, find a growth sector. Don't fall in love with the sector, fall in love with the pie being so large that you're always going to be able to eat, right? Denzel Washington has this saying, do what you have to do so you could do what you want to do. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I understand STEM is where it's at, nanosciences, healthcare, the aging population, tourism, Disney is building a $60 billion parks in Orlando. Not only that, but what's the competitor that's owned by Universal? Billions of dollars of opportunities. Both of those corporations are very much committed to the diversity, equity, inclusion. So much so that the governor of this state said, let's ban diversity, equity, inclusion in all of the public sector. What's wrong with that? If I'm paying my taxes, all I'm asking is for access and an opportunity. If you speak to our minority businesses, they will tell you, JR, Sandy, I've never wanted an opportunity because I'm Black. I'm from Haiti. English is a second language. If I don't have the best price, the best service, and if I'm not focused on how I can add value up and down the supply chain, I don't win. I don't muscle out a Fortune 500 company or an incumbent or majority firm. I'm not the best at what I do. I am an entrepreneur who just happens to be a woman. I happen to be Black. I happen to be an immigrant. All I want is access, information, the same way others get that opportunity. And we need to build the capacity of more of our firms to take advantage of these trillions of dollars in opportunity. And we have this short window. We don't know what's going to happen in the next election. And the people that are suing these programs, unfortunately, were all part of that last administration. Let's be very clear. I'm going to say something that people may not think is popular. I love President Obama. Love, 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 love. But President Obama could not do what President Biden is doing now. Literally, I went to DC. They said diversity equity and inclusion is a cornerstone of this administration. If you're other, what does that mean to you? Oh my God, are they going to take my business, my opportunity away? Biden has a woman of color as his vice president. He understands the importance of the vote of minorities, right? So he increased the small disadvantaged business goals from 5% to 15%, which would then narrow the racial wealth gap and provide an additional $100 billion. I just want one over the next 5 years to small businesses. But
Yeah.
no, let me change that we can compete for, right, Sandy? Sandy, what was
Right.
gave somebody an opportunity they didn't earn?
Yeah, I definitely would love to, and that sounds great. And if no one's picking up on the passion and the drive from Beatrice and her work and what she does, we're certainly, it's there, it's permeating. And thank you for that comment. Sandy, if you can address from the municipality, from the government, the local government standpoint, in terms of opportunities, because I know that there's a tremendous amount of moving parts and a lot happening at the county level, especially.
Right.
Can you share? Thank you.
So I'll give you some golden nuggets as real examples of what you can actually do based on everything Beatrice is saying today. So understand on the federal side, untapped market for minorities and diversity, EV, everything electric vehicle, everything from Broward, from power to installation to battery, the whole 9 yards is there, and there's seed money in the bipartisan infrastructure that'll help you. So that's something you need to think about. Smart city, smart county. Everything dealing within IT, innovation, technology, as we begin to advance. So all my IT people, you too want to read the federal bipartisan infrastructure bill and see that this is where we're pouring money. But I want to take both of those examples and explain to what JR is saying. Understand your state, your county, and your local communities, better known as municipalities or cities, understand their budgets. Understand what is general fund. Understand what's capital budget, and understand what they're leveraging from the state and the feds. Because if that's where the money's coming, that's where the untapped opportunities are. Using Broward as an example, if you paid attention to the federal infrastructure, but as I said earlier, before the federal bipartisan infrastructure, we passed our own surtax that can only be used for transportation operations, transportation services, infrastructure, just like the federal, and the future of rail. Then you'll understand that in the program, we've carved out 30% of that for small. And when I'm using DOT money for minority and women, the untapped market is if the county is going to be going into transportation, infrastructure, and rail for 30 years, that's an untapped market, not because they're going into it, but because they also have an ordinance carving out usable dollars. So understand in the state you're in, the county you're in, the local municipality you're in, how they use their funding sources. And those funding sources, that's the golden nugget. The funding sources will lead you to untapped markets, because you don't want to be in business because you like and love something. You need to be in business because somebody's willing to pay you and buy the good material or service you're providing. It's wonderful to work in the job that you're passionate about if somebody's paying you for what you're passionate about. So if you're looking for the opportunities, find those that your federal, your state, your county, and your locals have committed to. And remember, I'm using Broward as an example. A whole bunch of counties got plans, but no money. We just happen to have a plan. And we stuck money behind it for 30 years. And it just happens to be married for the next 10 years, the federal plan that has money as well. That's how you look at untapped markets based on where you are to find those things that you can engage yourself in.
Sandy, I want to share, government is the biggest buyer in the world.
Yes.
If it's good enough for Amazon Web Services, if it's good enough for Ross Perot, if it's good enough for IBM, why can't we have an opportunity? And I always tell our firms, you need a balance between the public and private sector. You don't want to be so engaged in one that if something happens like COVID and the private sector is not buying and the public sector is, you don't know how to do business in the public sector. That means school boards, cities, hospitals, what is it, highway and the DOTs of the world and so forth, expressway authorities, airports. Those are countries. So much economic activity happens at an airport. And Sandy, you all use these acronyms, HCDBE. That's
Right.
concessions, retail, baggage, parking, food and beverage.
Janitorial.
24/7. You're making money in your sleep. Who wouldn't want to make money in their sleep? Sign me up.
I certainly would, I think that we are, if we go back or think back maybe 15 years, you don't have to go back too far, but you go back, let's just say 15 years, and I still think that we are much further along than we were. And with individuals like yourselves really pushing along and, challenging the status quo, if you will, I think impact is being made across the board in a significant way. I do want to remind everyone that's on the call today that the Urban League, we're nonpartisan. We're a nonpartisan organization.
So am I.
and while some of the views that are shared or represented by the panel, the Urban League, we really are adamant about supporting a bipartisan approach. And so I just wanted to make sure that we put that stake in the ground for everyone that
Let me just share, we are a not-for-profit. I'm not telling people who to vote for. I'm saying, understand the process, understand who has your best interest at heart.
Right.
Rock with those that rock with us, whatever that means. And my thing is, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, common interests. So if an R and a D is going to support economic equity, they're going to focus on how do we change disparity. I don't care what you are. You can be green. I'm rocking with you because you're rocking with me. You care enough about my community. You want to support what we're doing. You're focused on parity. If there's such a thing, there's never been. Some people start at home base where we're starting on the back of the bus. Just one last thing, the history of supplier diversity. Dr. Martin Luther King, when he was assassinated, he was talking about boycotts. He was talking about, why can't we be part of the economic mainstream? Fast forward, not just 15 years ago, we're having the same conversation. Mr. Floyd was murdered. Everyone is saying, okay, what do we do? Why are there people in the streets? Why are people asking for more? History has a way of repeating itself. All of these commitments were made. Sandy, where are those commitments now? Are we better off? Are the doors open? Instead, as a result, the other side, and we have allies on both sides, some of them have said, wait a minute, I want all of it. Let's be very clear. Money, power, and respect. All I'm trying to do is to educate our audience. We're a not-for-profit, we're non-partisan. I'm just stating the facts. I'm informing. Anyone that can Google will find all of the things I've just said in terms of who is an ally and who is not. A statement of fact.
I definitely would love to get audience interaction. We actually have a really good question from Mike Langley, who's executive director at the Florida Justice Institute. And his question is, although Congress authorizes the United States Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA, as a permanent agency a few years ago, do you see these performative challenges to its communities upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States? And what can entities at all levels be withstanding to the transcend of the political gamesmanship?
This sounds like a question posed by an attorney. Here's the thing. MBDA was sued, and MBDA now has to serve everyone. Here's an agency that was established 50 years ago. They're responsible for all minority businesses throughout the U.S. Their budget was $30 million. One, and every year when budget comes up, let's do away with the MBDA. What? Now, finally, you have an administration that elevates Don Cravens, he's no longer there, as an undersecretary of minority business development. What happens? The agency is sued to serve everyone. So, my recommendation to those who want to be allies, if you're in the private sector, do more. Because if we're threatened on the public sector, the private sector can do more. If you're on the public sector, what do you do to prepare our firms for the trillions and trillions of dollars of opportunities? How do we encourage joint ventures, strategic alliances? How do we encourage folks to go into areas where there's true opportunities? We don't need another nail shop. We don't need another hair salon. We need people that are engaged in areas that that have the most opportunity for growth and the most opportunity for wealth. We want to build wealth in communities of color.
Thanks, Beatrice. And that's a great segue to the next line of question that I have, which centers really around strategic partnership between corporations, government agencies, community agencies, and how they would be utilized to drive a collective action, if you will, on supplier diversity. This question is for both of you. If you both can comment on that, please.
So let me start on that, and I'll be kind of brief. And it also ties into the last question you had, along with what Beatrice's response and comments were. Guys, MBDA now officially might be open to everybody. Mm-hmm. But if you sitting there as a minority and a woman, and the MBDA is still down the street from you, when it was 3 years ago when it wasn't open to everybody, get your butt to the MBDA and get assistance with all your paperwork. See, get there. They didn't kick you out. They just told you on the record somebody else is coming in. But get there. If I'm Baltimore, if I'm Chicago, if I'm Detroit, if I'm Miami, if I'm these hubs that are primarily minority anyway, get there just knowing that somebody else might come through the door. Don't run. Community organizations also should get a better understanding or somewhat of an education in terms of leveraging for themselves and their private entities and understanding the federal programs, understanding DBE, ACDBE, understanding 8A, understanding the hub zone, understanding MBE and MWBE, understanding the programs by which if I'm a county or a state, if I'm a municipality, and if I'm private industry and I'm looking to do more with DEI, then if I knew these programs, I could potentially leverage the money I spend anyway, aligned with these programs to assure the population I want to impact has real opportunities. So I'm saying one of the ways as community partners strategically, I'll use us again. Broward, it was great to pass the surtax. And it was great to get the state's permission, because even the state of Florida, when I got here 11 years ago, hey, if the state gave me money for one of my county projects, I could set a small business goal, include minority and women. 2017, the state says, hey, Sandy, if Broward takes 50% money from the state, you can't set that goal no more. Then in 2020, they said, hey, Sandy, if the county does a project over 1 million and get money from the state, you can't set goals no more. And then last year, the state said, hey, Sandy, if the county's project is 350,000, and even if you take $1 from the state, you can't set goals anymore. So they're finding ways to remove it. But remember this infrastructure I told you we did locally. Because it was the vote of the people, that's what Beatrice has been screaming. Because it was the vote of the people, that surtax that we do, even when we leverage money from FDOT, I still get to set the goal, because they can't change what the people have decided. So be crystal clear. If I'm taking money directly from the state, I can't set my goal, not even my local or my minority women. FDOT is the state, Florida Department of Transportation. And if I take their money and leverage it with my surtax, I can set the goal, and it's specifically DBE. So to your question, if my state, federal, county, and local entities, along with my private partners, really understood the federal programs and identified which of them they could leverage and align themselves with to create more opportunities, that's strategic in terms of creating and sustaining those opportunities.
And we need more champions like you. And I want to thank you publicly, Sandy. Your passion, your commitment to women, minority businesses, small businesses is, I just thank you so much. Each one of us has the power to vote. And I don't mean at the ballot box, we have that too. But every day when I decide who's cutting my grass, who's watching my kids, who's washing my clothes, where do I go to get my hair, I'm voting with my money, right? So I can decide I choose us above anyone else, right? I can also say, I'm looking at the landscape, I'm looking at who is supporting us, and I choose those who have very robust, what we call world-class supplier diversity programs. If they're not, then I choose their competitor. We need to understand they need to respect our dollars. With our elected officials, they have a role to play. They need to understand when they come to Broward County, don't come to us when there is a public-private partnership or any kind of opportunity without the right team, without the right subcontractors. It's a no-go right then and there. If I don't see local participation, if I don't see minority participation, if I don't see diverse participation, it doesn't have to even be in writing. If there are 10 bidders and there is one that is clearly making certain that they're inclusive, that's who gets the opportunity, even at a cost that's higher. Because at the end of the day, what minority businesses do is they take chances on people that no one would ever take a chance on. Our returning citizens, our young people that need a place to be trained to work in corporate America, to work with businesses. We're not New York. We don't have global headquarters, although it seems like every billionaire is moving here. At the end of the day, our children will work for a small business, and we have an obligation to support them so that they can grow and they can employ more people, so they can give more to the church, so they can give more to the urban leagues of the world, to the charities. That is what we can do individually, collectively, and those of us who run these not-for-profits, our auditor, our accountant, our HR firm, our law firm, our cybersecurity firm, everyone is a minority because I have the choice to vote with my dollars. Yes, we bid things out, but if all things are equal, I'm always going to choose a diverse supplier. So if you're out there, allies, if you're out there, not-for-profit leaders, if you're out there, individuals, if you're out there, small businesses, do business with other minority businesses.
That's the way you keep the economy going. That's the way you're strengthening the legacy right in the heart of our community. And that's the way that, through that, it's reinforced through your initiatives and your actions, so that when you go out and you are championing the actions and activities that are happening within the community, others can say, wow, that is really working. I know, Sandy, you've done a tremendous amount of work right here in Broward through a lot of initiatives that the county has put out there. And you continue to beat the drum as well in terms of availability and opportunities. And, we can lay it out, we can put it in front of you, but guys, ladies, you have to step up and wave your hand and say, hey, I'm ready, I'm in a position, and we talk about all of that. I do want to ask this question here as we round the corner, is really specifically about supplier diversity programs and how they may be integrated into the broader corporate or social responsibility strategies that can help really to maximize the impact on sustainability. And this is a comment for both of you that I'd love both of you to respond to.
So on the government side, and we have an example right now, even with national jets at our airport. On the government side, it has to be Missouri, show me state. It does. Because at the end of the day, everything Beatrice just said toward the end was accurate. But that old adage that there's different ways to skin a cat, See, I had to learn the programs of Broward, the politics of Broward, the opportunities of Broward, and even when my own county didn't want to be race and gender conscious anymore. Oh, they used to. Miami used to. Palm Beach used to. 1992 to 2004, we were all exclusively MBE and WBE. Then they got challenged in this area, just like I got challenged in Michigan, and we went to race and gender neutral programs. But the whole point is, race and gender neutral didn't mean that it's not inclusive of minority and women. It means that you find more opportunities for the target population that's underserved to do more. So we break our neck with entrepreneurship programs. We break our neck with training and development. We break our neck by sheltering the small things, 250,000 or less. So my small minorities and women can get in the game. They get to learn the process. They get to build their credibility, and then we afford them real opportunities for the 2, 5, and 10 and the $1 million projects. So we just decided we'll bake our own opportunities. But within that, even on the corporate side. So yep, I changed the rule and the county commission agreed. We normally put goals on projects when we spend money. Well, I asked the county commission, land is money. So what if somebody who's been leasing land for years decide they want to build a brand new $70 million facility and I don't get to put a goal because it's land lease? The county agreed in 2021. Hey, Sandy, going forward on land leases, you can also set a goal. So here's the corporate responsibility piece. I'm already in a partnership with the owners of National Jet, but National Jets have never used my small businesses. National Jet wants to build a new office building, a new parking hub, a new ramp. Excellent, 70 million. National Jets has committed because of the relationship. Hey, Sandy, I'll do 30% with private money with your small businesses. We have to bake and create those opportunities. Yeah, you see me doing that. In case y'all didn't know, small businesses was used with the improvements at our airport, with private money from Delta, from JetBlue, from Spirit, with my small businesses because of the relationship we asked and they did. So now here's National Jet. Hey, I'll do that 30% goal. Thank you. Sign that in line. Our point is we have to create it like Missouri, show it, and then try to strongly encourage private entities to come be part of it. Beatrice does it far more than I, because that's the name of the big box and what she does, challenging those folks to actually have real DEI and make real commitments. On the government side, in case anyone's listening, I'm saying more of us have to create those real opportunities by demonstrating that our small minority and women can actually succeed, and then putting those individuals in the face of our private community. And when you can, similar to what we did as a county, even write it in every now and then as an ordinance, as a requirement.
But Sandy, I want you to go further. I need you to ask National Jets, how do we get Black kids as pilots? That community benefits package could have said, how can a Black business in Broward County be an equity partner in this deal? How do we train our kids in aviation? You have a goal, but maybe some of our firms are not ready.
Oh, I'm smiling, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I do. You just make sure you're around in July.
Okay.
Not just national. Let's put it this way. I'm already borrowing the person who's already doing it in Miami, and I just brought him to Broward County specifically for aviation. And I'm just not talking about maintenance. I'm talking about pilots. You might know who the guy is, but we all just inked this. But that's another story.
I want equity. We want equity.
See you in July.
Okay, I'm going to send you a sample community benefits package, because I think the public sector thinks, oh, there's a goal, we're done. If you're giving someone public land, forever, I want to see a benefit to this community, because what you've done is you've taken that land.
Do you forget you gave me a community benefits package that's currently in use on 4 projects? You forget you gave me one 6 years ago? Do you forget that convention center is a community benefits package? First one Broward County ever did?
Show me.
Okay, well, hey, you the one gave me the document. Okay, this is in place right now, this minute, including hard to hire. You're not just gonna hire anybody in my minority. You hire the ones just got out of jail, the ones without a GED, the ones without a diploma, the ones with extensive.
200,000 jobs too for the people in the community. It's just way too expensive to live in South Florida. All these billionaires with their jets, the 1%. I want to be part of that 1% too. I want equity. You know, like Jay-Z said, you all are taking advances, I'm taking chances.
Listen, you guys, I'm just like so energized just watching the just the amount of energy here, both on the private, the governmental side. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. We are coming to close here, so we want to wrap it up. And I have one last question that I want you guys to just give a 1-minute response to. And this really is about advice. What's that one key thing that you would share as it represents your space to a minority-owned business owner seeking to maximize their participation and impact within supplier diversity in the ecosystem? What is that one nugget that you will leave them with right now?
Come to Sandy's event, be Broward and Beyond on Friday, and then in a few weeks, May 22nd and 23rd, whether you're a minority business or someone in supplier diversity in the not-for-profit world, you want to know how to have impact, come and learn, hear about people that are doing it incredibly well, right? And do business with each other. I can't hold Sandy's feet to the fire if to my left and to my right is another minority and diverse supplier, and I won't joint venture with them. I won't give them my marketing. Unacceptable. Right, Sandy?
No, 100% unacceptable. And Beatrice said something earlier that we don't want to miss. And JR, this is to your answer for this 1 minute. Guys, remember, I'm born and raised Michigan. Sorry. I went to college at a black college in Virginia. Sorry. I started my professional career in economic development in Washington, D.C., another black community. Sorry. And in each of those, we learned, which is what my 1 minute is about. Guys, do your research. On the front end, identify your opportunities. As an example, if you happen to be in Broward, DBELO, you're supposed to know who I am, and to Beatrice's point, supposed to hold me to the fire. But after research, when you identify the opportunities, you take advantage of all the things we talked about today, then be in a position to deliver. Because if you deliver, you help programs and other individuals behind you also come through, and you eventually become that billionaire that Beatrice is talking about, and you too get to vote with your own dollars. You get to pull back and pull somebody else through. If that's my definition of R&D with my entrepreneurs. If you don't research the opportunity, all the things in the middle you need to do, and then don't deliver, you kill everything that we just described. Research and deliver for minorities is different than R&D and entrepreneur. You must research your opportunity. Take advantage of those opportunities. Deliver and be successful on those opportunities, because you're the message that I do get to go back to this private entity and to government, to elected officials who don't agree with me and say, but I can show you what they did. That's what I believe we have to do. Demonstrate with everything that's out here and available.
And I would also, go ahead, sorry, Beatrice.
They will be what they see. We have to bring our kids along. They don't have to go get a job. They can create a job. We need to change the narrative. We want to leave a legacy. Sandy's been at it a long time. And despite how young I look, and quoting Jay-Z, I've been in this role 24 years. I want to make certain that our legacy, the work that we've put in, we are creating generational wealth in communities of color. And I thank the Urban League for their focus on this area.
Bravo. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the comments. And for those of you who are watching this discussion, there's so much out there. I would say visit each organization's website or location for more. Additionally, you heard the comment about Broward and Beyond that's taking place on Friday. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity. And really, at the end of the day, it's about networking. It's about taking advantage of the opportunities that's in front of you. It's about leveraging all of the resources that's before you. There's so much out there and so much available to help you along the way. If you feel like you don't really fully understand it, tap in. We can help you. We can help unlock some of these things and make it easier for you to understand. So thank you again so much, panel, for your time. I want to thank those of you who are participated for attending this Power 2 panel, the state of supplier diversity in our business. And I'd love to ask for each of you to take a minute to fill out a brief survey that will appear momentarily on your screens. And also, if you could stay tuned for the next power panel, which is Equitable Community Investments, Why DEI Makes Sense, which starts at 12 o'clock. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, REDI conference guests. I'm Andrew Koenig, CEO of City Furniture, and I'm thrilled to be here supporting the Urban League of Broward County for the third year in a row. At City, we stand firmly behind the fundamental principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not just something we talk about, it's ingrained in the very fabric of our motto. Diversity celebrates uniqueness, equity ensures fairness, and inclusion creates unity. These aren't just buzzwords, they're the keys to success. As business leaders, we have a profound responsibility to uphold these values. It's not just about profits, it's about making a meaningful difference in the world. And that change begins with us. We are proud to stand alongside organizations like the Urban League, who share our commitment to prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion. For every leader, visionary, and ally, I urge you to join me in City Furniture in creating equitable workplaces and communities where everyone belongs. Together, this is how we build brighter futures.